Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. Tier didn't used to have the Ishizu cards, at least that was the case in the TCG and the OCG. Prior to the Ishizu cards being released, Tier had to play a version of the deck that was more high roll, where you couldn't just always get your monsters into rotation, you couldn't always get your fusions online, meaning that they had to play more of a high roll, more of a riskier strategy, but if it ended up working out, they would end up taking games and taking series because, you know, you're just luckier like that. This is gamble tier or pure tier or, you know, tier prior to the Ishizu stuff in the TCG and OCG. And this is basically what we've, or at least what I've tried to do in Master Duel. Now, obviously, the things are slightly different. Most notably, Scream was not a thing until post Ishizu, I believe. So prior to Scream, tier was all like significantly weaker, so instead of that they would play more dangers and just kind of high roll with that. But on top of that, they also had access to all of their tier names as well as 3 Perlino, which we don't have access to, so of course that was a lot better for them as well. But this deck was arguably the best deck even prior to the Ishizu stuff coming out because of the absolute power of this high roll strategy. If you just did well and there were enough of you, yeah, it would end up winning consistently. So there you go. You may not have won, but your friend next to you may have. So let's quickly do the explanation and the card by card. Starting off with all of the tier monsters. Honestly, a lot of them would actually cut the 3rd Rhino Heart, but alas, we cannot do that because we just need as many tier names as possible. So we're maxing out on the tier names, pretty standard. And then we're playing a bunch of dangers, but not as much as we would, or as they would have previously, like in the TCG or the OCG. And that is mostly due to the fact that the we don't really need access to the dangers as much because we do have things like Grief and Scream and stuff like that to give us additional mills and to give us additional names. So yeah, we're playing the 1 Jackalope, the 1 Tsujinogo, triple Nessie, and double Mothman as well. And then of course we're playing Fairy Tale Snow because it's broken, and then Max C. And that's it for the monsters. As for the spells, we're playing the Foolish Burial, Terraforming, and Foolish Burial Goods. Foolish Burial Goods is still pretty good in this deck. Being able to hit something like a SnowiKs in order to grab up on a monster is very nice. We're also playing triple Tactics, all 3 of them. The reason for this is because this card is very, very good. Being able to steal a monster, being able to look at your opponent's hand and shuffle a card back, being able to draw too is absolutely invaluable. And also just getting hand knowledge as well with the look at your opponent's hand, just truly an incredible card. And honestly, there are a lot of times where your opponent will activate something like Ash or Maxi or something like that, and you being able to, you know, get additional advantage off of this card is very nice. But it's, you know, it's also just a very good going second card, probably one of the best right now. Next up, we're playing 2 Grief. This card's a little bit iffy, but it's nice because it's kind of just another name. If you have another tier name, this card's very good, which is why we're not maxing out on it. You do need another tier name, so you can't just go like Grief into, you know, into Merle and then immediately fuse. And since we do have less of those names or less access to those names, Grief isn't as good. So again, 2 of those. We have the 1 Perlino, we have the triple Scream, pretty standard. We're also playing 1 Heartbeat. This kind of came up occasionally. I don't know, it's nice. Its mill effect can be good because we are playing a lot more of the tier traps. We're maxing out on the SnowiKs, we're playing a Meta Noise and a Crime, so it does make sense to have it for its mill effect as well. So yeah, then we're, of course, 1 Meta Noise, 1 Crime, triple SnowiKs, pretty standard there. Meta Noise is nice, being able to add a monster to your hand. It's just kind of a high roll card. Hey, that's kind of the deck, so there's that. It's also just good in general, being able to flip a card face down. Then we obviously have Crime. Crime is just good in general. Being able to be a counter trap for basically anything means that whatever you want to go through is probably going to go through. And it sends a card for effect, which is very nice as well. And then obviously the triple SnowiKs. We're also playing triple Infip, the only other hand trap. Look, it's high roll. We're not really looking to be insane or have like really good going second cards. We're just kind of being like, okay, hopefully Infip does enough, or like Maxi is a deterrent enough, or like, you know, we draw Havness, something like that. And then we're playing 1 Appointer of the Red Lotus for Curious into Griffin. We'll explain that in a second. I never actually pulled off that combo. Honestly, it's very cuttable. You could definitely cut those for like a Zeus or something like that. But yeah, I wanted to try it, and that's kind of what we did in the TCG. You could go like Curious into Griffin with like, what is it? the Floodgate, the Spell Floodgate, Anti-Spell Fragrance, there we go. Couldn't think of it. Yeah, you could like set the Anti-Spell Fragrance and then flip it up on the opponent's turn to lock them out of spells, which is very, very good. But, alas, that never really came up for me. As for the extra deck, we're playing 2 Mud Dragon of the Swamp. This card's just very good in general, as like an additional link material to kind of fuse off into, or to go into something like Redoer or Abyss Dweller. Next up, we have ourselves the 1 Kit, the 1 Dragostapelia, the 1 Rukalos, and the 1 Kaleido Heart. That's it for the fusions. Moving on to the Xyz, we're only actually playing 2, that being Abyss Dweller and Time Thief Redoer. We could play things like the Baguska or the Zodiac package or something like that. The reason that we're not is due to the fact that we actually don't have as much access to 4s. The only 4s that we have are Sheeran, Rhinoheart, Mothman, and Snow, which aren't the most consistent, and oftentimes you would much more rather use them on Link monsters, specifically the main combo that we end up going into, which is Sprite Elf and Masquerena. And the reason for that is because we're also playing a bunch of, well, we're playing 2 really big monsters to go into off of those monsters, that being Avramax and Underworld Goddess. Underworld Goddess is an absolute powerhouse of a card right now, being able to negate something from the graveyard, as well as, more importantly, just being a way to deal with, like, really difficult to out boss monsters, you know, towers and the like, is very nice. And then Avramax is Avramax. You know, a lot of things target, specifically with like tier and other such decks, a lot of things target, and having target protection and just like a body that is basically you know, unremovable is very nice. So there's that. As for the rest of the Link monsters, we're playing the Dark. We're playing Curious to dump cards. We can also dump like a tier monster off of this as well, which is pretty interesting. So you could dump like a Sheeran to fuse maybe into Kaleido Hearts or something like that, which isn't bad. And then it also mills cards, so you could potentially even see more tier names. So there's that. And then we have Nightmare Griffin, which discards to set a spell trap, which the target is the Appointer. So normally we'll send the Appointer and then grab it back off of the Griffin, which is any of those 2 monsters. So that's the overall game plan. Let's hop into the duels and show you how this deck performs. Alright, so our first game, we are actually going second, and, well, we drew the Cockroach. Look, as I said, it's kind of high roll. You just kind of have to hope that you draw well. You draw the Cockroach. Also, the rest of this hand is insane. I'm sorry, hold on. We sent Scream off of that? We didn't send a SnowiKs? Or, huh. Okay, and they added Crime. Okay, so Haveness is in hand. I'm going to play around the Haveness in hand. We draw the Rhinoheart, which makes this a lot nicer for me. Again, Crime specifically needs them to have a monster, a tier monster, on their field. The only way for them to get a tier monster onto their field is that Haveness in their hand. So I'm just going to play around Haveness. That's the only thing I need to worry about here. We're going to start activate the SnowiKs to grab up the Haveness here. Then we're going to go and activate the Perlino in order to grab up the Merly. We now have all 4 names. How fantastic. So we're going to go for the Sheeran here, and we're going to activate the effect of the Rhinoheart as well as the Haveness engrave in order to go first into the Kit and then in it to the Rhinoheart, pitching the Merly. This will then allow us to go Kit, Rhinoheart, Merly, and then Perlino to pop a card. So we're going to pop the back row. Hey, we happen to hit the Crime. And then we are going to fuse into a Kaleido Heart. And then we're going to go for the Kit here, and we are going to add the Crime. We also ended up pitching a Sheeran off of the Rhinoheart effect. So the Sheeran is going to activate. We're going to go activate the Kaleido Heart, activate the Sheeran, and that's the game, chat. That's it. That's game over. We dealt with everything. We knew that they had the Haveness in hand. You got to keep in mind what your opponent may have and play around it. There you go. Alright, so here we are going first. Let's see how we do. Now, we did draw pretty well. Again, we have access to our field spell, so we're going to start off with the Terraforming. They're actually going to activate their Herald of Greenlight, pitching a Mudora to negate that. Interesting. So now we have to contend with a Shuffler, but this does turn on our triple attack, which is why I'm playing it. This card is absolutely invaluable. So we're going to look at their hand, and hey, look at that, a Haveness. They have Haveness, triple attack, Foolish Burial Goods. So we do need to play around the triple attack. Do keep that in mind. We're going to shuffle away the Haveness so that we can go for the Rhinoheart here. Rhinoheart activate its effect. Okay, out comes the Shuffler. I'm not too surprised, whatever. But now we can go for the Mothman, hit the Merly, fantastic. Draw into Haveness, how very interesting. We're then going to go into the Kit Colossus, activate the effect of the Kit Colossus, and we're going to add up the Scream. we're going to activate the Scream, and then we're going to activate the Kit Kalos effect, and special summon the Havness that's in our hand to mill 8. So we're going to mill 3. Not great. Okay. Okay, we hit Havness at the very least, you know, there's that. So we're going to activate the SnowiKs to add up the Sheeran. I actually chained this incorrectly. I should have activated the SnowiKs as Chainlink 1, so that we could Chainlink 2, activate our fusion spell of the Havness to shuffle itself back, so that we could then search the Havness and have it in hand. So that's a big misplay on my part. Hopefully it doesn't come to bite us in the butt. We're going to go with the Kaleido Heart here, and then just link off into IP Masquerena. Not really much more that we could do, and then I just kind of hope and pray, and I'm like, maybe we have something here. They're going to activate their Foolish Burial Goods. Again, we know what they have in hand. It's the Foolish Burial Goods and the Triple Tack, so we just have to play around that. They're going to dump the SnowiKs here. They're going to activate the effect of the SnowiKs, add Sheeran, and then they're going to activate the effect of the Sheeran, pitching Rhino Heart. So they have Rhino Heart, right? Like, it's there. And they have the ability to fuse into Kit Kalos, which just, like, auto-wins them the game, but instead they decide to go for the Sheeran here. Look, they're not the brightest of players, but alas, here we are. They do mill the Aerial, so there's that. I'm just not going to activate anything, really. I am going to activate the Scream here, but we didn't mill anything good. But we did mill the SnowiKs, so now we can grab up the Havness. And at this point, I know that they have the Triple Tack, so if I activated anything, it's not really going to do anything, so there's that. Anyway, at this point, the game is over. The game's just over. They don't really have anything. We get to go Sheeran here, mill the Havness. At that point, they realize that the game is over, and yeah, they concede. Oops. Alright, here we are, once again, going first, and wow, look at this hand. It does nothing. Okay, well, Foolish Burial doesn't do anything here. Okay, no, that's... Fine, we'll just banish the Jackalope. I don't know. We'll just banish our danger. It's fine. I'm going to set the Appointer and hope that it does something. Draw phase, activate the effect. And, oh, it's Bird. Imperm, 2 pots, DD Crow, map. Sure. I'm going to banish the map. I can't let them get anything. They have 2 pots. Like, I can't... Sure. Like, whatever. They're going to go draw 2. They're going to go Pot of Duality, reveal an Eaglin. Oh, great. At least we know that they don't have maps, so... There's something, but this Cockroach isn't going to do anything. They're going to set 2 and pass, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I just need to see a monster. If I see a monster, we're feeling good. Any tier name, that is the best tier name in the deck. Fantastic. We're going to go Scream. We're going to normal summon the Rhino Heart. We're not under Shifter anymore, so we're going to go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, and we know that they have the Imperm. Out comes the Imperm for the Rhino Heart. I was most worried about them having an Ash, having drawn an Ash for turn or something like that. They didn't. Fantastic. Actually, no, we knew that they couldn't have that. They could have drawn it off of the Pot of Extra, so that's what I was worried about. We mill terribly. Perlino, Maxi, Infib. Fantastic. However, Crime is online. Crime is now online. So I'm going to set the Crime. Now, they know that I have Crime. But I'm going to set it because I can't really do anything else. They're going to go and activate their Pot of Extravagance. They're going to activate their map. I'm going to say, no, that's not allowed. You're not allowed to activate map. Map shall now be shuffled back into your deck, and you will not see it again. Thank you very much. Please and thank you. I don't know what the other set card is. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they're just going to pass the turn. They're scared of Scream. And then I draw Grief. Fantastic. Activate the Grief. And, of course, they draw the Ash. Now. Okay, sure. That's fine. We'll just continue to not play the game. It's fine. Just go to battle. Just go to battle. Just go to battle. Deal some damage. It's fine. If we get lucky with Scream, because they have to normal summon, we could do something. Out comes the Eaglin. They're going to activate the effect. I'm going to chain the Scream. And we mill a Sheeran, a Meta Noise, and a SnowiKs. They're going to grab the M-Pen here. Cool. And then they're not going to follow up with a normal summon. And I go, what? They're going to go and activate the DD Crow, which we knew that they had, but that's fine. We can now have the SnowiKs to grab up the Havness. I'm also activating the Meta Noise to Chainlink 1, just in case. Anyway, Havness is added to the hand, and they just pass. They just pass. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't remember what they have, but that's fine. We're going to normal summon the Havness, activate the effect of the Scream, and mill SnowiKs and Scream. Okay, it's not the greatest, but at the very least, we grab up ourselves the SnowiKs off of the Scream, and off of the SnowiKs, we grab ourselves another Havness, and we can actually do something there. My opponent is just not having it. They've bricked just as hard as I, so they scooped up. Whew, yikes. Alright, and here we are going second, and this is a showcase of how to actually be lucky in this deck, and I'm going to show you exactly why at the very end. My opponent is playing the worst deck to play against in the current meta, that being Naturia Runic. Dear Lanta, this deck, I hate it with all of my fire in my body, because it's terrible. It's horrible to play against. You basically get an Omni Negate, an Infinite Spell Negate, as well as an Infinite Monster Negate, as well as Runic stuff. It's really fun to deal with. So yeah, they're gonna activate their stuff. I'm not even gonna explain this because I'll explain it later. Anyway, they're gonna go and activate the effect of their Slumber, banishing 3 monsters, and hey, look at that, it's Scream. Of course, they now know what I am playing. Fun. And then they're going to synchro into Naturia Beast, which will then trigger their Mole Cricket to special summon itself back. And then they're also going to go for Runic Tip, banishing a Rhino Heart. Sure, okay, they set the Blessing, and they have the Freezing Curses in hand. Okay, our hand is not that bad, but it's also not great. So we're going to go and infip the Naturia Beast. They're going to go for the Carmilla. Carmilla is going to then activate the effect to send Sacred Tree. Sacred Tree will then add the Blessing, and now I can steal their monster. I'm going to steal the Naturia Sunflower, just so that I have the ability to actually, like, do something there. Because Sunflower could just infinitely negate, which I don't want. They're going to attempt to negate, but they mill some cards, and wow, okay, I guess I'm not the lucky player here. Dear Lanta, you're kidding me. Sure, no, that's fine. You can have Freezing Curses, the immediate Synchro Summon / Monster Reborn in Blessing, which is just a horrible card. And the Shuffler. No, that's fine. That's fine. We're gonna go for Rhino Heart. They're going to negate it. They're also going to activate all of the effects. They're gonna mill some more cards, banish some more cards. Fantastic. My effect gets negated. They're gonna mill a whole bunch more, yada yada. They draw 2. Fantastic. Whatever. They're gonna activate the effect of the Blessing here to go into a Baron. Cool. They also milled 2 Runic cards. Fantastic. Hopefully this Nessie hits pretty well, and we can go from there. Just kidding. They go into Changing. Well, interesting. I draw into Maxi. Cool. Great. Fantastic. I'm going to grab Sheeran here, and I'm going to go for the Sheeran here. The reason I do this, I'm baiting them to... I'm not baiting them. I'm hoping that they don't utilize one of their Ishizu cards to just immediately banish a monster, because if they do that, I lose. I can't do anything. Because my out is Underworld Goddess. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So, while I do mill, and I mill a Merly here, I don't activate it. Why? Because that would prompt them to activate one of their Keldos, or their Mudoras, or their Mudora, and then it would banish, which would trigger the Changing, which would banish more cards, which would then leave me out of an option. So instead, I just Underworld Goddess. They don't activate the effect. I'm feeling good. I'm going to negate their effect. Then I'm going to go for the Foolish Burial. Now, I notably have a Perlino on my side of the field. So, what does that mean? It means that if I activate this Havness and they shuffle it into the deck, I still get the Perlino pop. Fantastic. So that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to shuffle away my Havness. They're going to shuffle back 2 of their cards. And I'm going to pop their monster. They're going to activate the Smiting Storm and then lose 2 time. I had no world in which I win that. In no world do I win that. Unless I win in time. Look, sometimes you just have to be luckier than your opponent. To be fair, they deserved it. So, we're back with the deck, and in all honesty, this deck is still very good. It still puts out some incredible boards, being able to end on even weirder boards than most tier decks are currently doing. Things like the Elf and IP Masquerena as well as Rukolos, maybe some back row as well. You're playing a lot more back row, things like the Meta Noise, the Crime, the SnowiKs, you're more likely to see those as well. Maybe an Imperm as well. So the boards are slightly different, and actually quite a fair bit different. But more importantly is that this deck is pretty bad right now in the meta, mostly due to the fact that everyone and their mother is playing specifically hate towards the tier cards, and so yeah, they're not exactly the strongest. But even with that being said, they're still able to compete, they're still able to play, they're still able to win quite a bit. You do have to get a bit lucky. I don't think that this is the most optimized version of this deck. This is just kind of something that I threw together real quick. If I had a bit more time, I could have come up with something a little bit better. But all in all, the deck is still very good. Snow is a powerhouse. I hate this card. It's too good. It's just too good. But on top of that, just a lot of the other cards are very strong and allow you access to a myriad of different things. Scream is so good at being able to like chain block for things, like the Rhino Heart. Being able to see like Scream and Rhino Heart is crazy. Perlino is an absolute monster of a card. Even though it is a spell, it's insane. So yeah, having access to that is very nice. All in all, just it's so very fun. It's so very fun. It's a very different build of tier as well. So if you don't like the Ishizu cards, which I personally don't, I think that they are terrible. But if you don't like them, you could consider playing this build. It's actually not that bad, and it honestly is very fun. So anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, I like it very much, so appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh, then just be sure to subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.